You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria are still basking in the euphoria of a court judgment that set free the leader of the Shiite group in the country, Ibraheem Yaqoub El-Zakzaky, and his wife, arrested and left in detention since December 2015. In Abuja and other cities that had seen demonstrations by members of the Shiite turned violent when protesters clashed with police, citizens can now feel safe again. TVC News senior correspondent Femi Falana reports.
A significant ratio of the palpable fear in Abuja drops as a Kaduna court sets free Sheikh Ibraheem El-Zakzaky. After the arrest of the Shiite leader in December 2015, the streets of this quiet capital city turned volatile whenever members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria hit the streets in protest against the prolonged detention of El-Zakzaky and his wife Zinat. More than 20 major Shiite protests rocked the federal capital city and were met with brutal force by security agencies. Lives were lost, people injured and property destroyed. Yet there was no letting up by angry protesters, now resilient and resolute against what they say is government's oppression and persecution.
This area used to be an outpost of the National Emergency Management Agency, but it is now a parking lot. This is one of the many scars from clashes between the Nigerian police and Shiite protesters in the heart of Abuja. This destruction happened on the same day the police officer in charge of operations in the FCT was shot dead and the journalist killed by stray bullets. Frightened citizens always dread being caught in that crossfire and the tailback that immediately grinds activities to a halt.
The same month of July, just within 1 week, there was one of the most brazen confrontations between Shiite and security officers in the National Assembly. This attack further raised the threat level as it was the closest the protesters got to the seat of power in the presidential villa. Abdullahi Mohammed is a spokesman for the IMN in Abuja. He participated in the numerous protests that attracted both local and international attention and piled pressure on the federal government to release the leader of the Shiite Islamic sect. He says it is not yet over unless all other peaceful protesters are set free.
I think like in Abuja here we have 56 people in Kuje prison. We are facing trial by the FCT Commissioner of Police. They arrested them during the killing in Federal Secretariat on the 22nd July 2019 when the combination joint security forces attacked peaceful protesters.
Tina is the florist at this retail flower stand in Abuja. The ruins of the Nema outpost just a few meters away remind her daily of the danger that lurked on the streets when followers of Sheikh El-Zakzaky came out to protest the arrest of their leader.
When they come like this, we pack our things away. We leave the place because we don't want them to destroy some of the things.
Muhammad Ibrahim Gamawa is a member of the Resource Forum in the Islamic Movement of Nigeria. He wants the government and security agencies to answer for the violent attacks against peaceful protesters and compensate for loss of lives and property.
The government is supposed to be flexible and condone criticisms, not using the correctional center or framing somebody because he criticized the government. No, that's what General Buhari did, and he did that to Jonathan. He called Jonathan every sort of name. And Jonathan did not order for his arrest. Every revolution was heard from his mouth that we need the Egyptian type of revolution. So
the road to freedom for El-Zakzaky was rough and tough. The shouts of "Free El-Zakzaky" was loud and clear. Now they will heave a sigh of relief as the leader of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria breathes the air of freedom. Femi Falana, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, joining me via Zoom is lawyer to El-Zakzaky and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. All right, let's begin this way. We recall that you had at one point asked the Attorney General of the Federation to respect the rule of law and release your clients. But we see eventually that the courts have now discharged and acquitted him. What does this victory mean for you?
Well, the victory means for us as a defense team the triumph of the rule of law over official impunity at the highest level. The victory means for us the need for Nigerians to insist on their rights, even in the midst of intimidation. The victory means for us that at the end of the day, justice will triumph over evil. Here, you have a situation where two sects of the Islamic religion, the Sunnis and the Shiites, or the Sunnis in government decided to use the instrumentality of the state to harass those they consider their opponents, the Shiites. In December 2015, it was alleged that there was a traffic gridlock in Zaria because the Shiites had a religious outing brought about because the state would not allow them to have a religious camp. On that day, the then Chief of Army Staff, General Yusuf Buratai, the current plenipotentiary of Nigeria to the Republic of Benin, was alleged to be part of the people on the road. Instead of calling the police or the Federal Road Safety Corps to remove any obstruction on the highway, the Nigerian Army took the law into its hands, and the Army authorities ordered soldiers, armed soldiers, to shoot at the Shiites. At the end of what the press erroneously called a clash, at the end of the massacre, hundreds of Shiites were not only killed, their bodies were also taken away and buried in an unmarked grave. That was on the 12th of December 2015. Sheikh Ibraheem El-Zakzaky and his wife, Madam Zainat, were not at the scene of the incident. They were still in their residence. On the 14th, the army dispatched a platoon to attack them in their homes. In that unprovoked attack, 3 of their children were shot dead in their presence. As if that was not enough, the army shot at them. Again, soaked in their own blood, they were taken away to a military barracks where they were detained. From there, they were transferred to the detention facility of the State Security Service. They were not given adequate medical attention. Hence, El-Zakzaky lost his right eye while pellets lodged in the body of the wife were not removed. And some of them have not been removed up to now. To the extent now that she can no longer stand to work. Now, we went to court, contrary to the impression created by the government. Oh, these shites have no confidence in the rule of law. We were instructed to go to court. We approached the Federal High Court. And on the 2nd of December 2016, the Federal High Court declared the arrest and detention illegal, awarded 25 million naira to each of them, and both of them 50 million naira, and that the federal government should provide a temporary accommodation for them, since their house had been burnt. Their house was bulldozed and set on fire by the Kaduna State government on the instructions of Governor Nasir El-Rufai. The protests you were just witnessing now were meant to compel the Nigerian state to comply with the orders of its own court. The Honorable Justice Deborah Kolawole had set them free, but the government refused to comply. Hence, the shites went to the street in the process again of demonstrating peacefully. Not less than 100 were killed by a combined team of the army and the police. Of course, disappointed but undaunted, the shiites continued the protest. When the government became sufficiently embarrassed, the Attorney General of the country
all right.
Mr. Abubakar, because of national security, whatever that means. Because the nebulous concept of national security was raised before the Federal High Court, and the judge dismissed it. So you cannot detain anybody in Nigeria without taking him or her to court. And so you cannot detain anybody as if we're under a military junta, whereby people have to be detained without being taken to court. So when the government became so embarrassed, locally and internationally, the Kaduna State governor offered to help, and that was how some frivolous charges were slammed against them in May 2018. Of course, we went to defend the monstrous charge. And 2 days ago, the Kaduna State High Court, presided over by the Honorable Justice Gideon Kurada, set them at liberty, set them free, on the ground that the 15 witnesses called by the prosecution did not prove any of the charges against them to warrant their being called to offer a defense. Secondly, that the charges were filed, whereas the offenses were committed in 2015, December 2015, the alleged offenses. They were charged under a law enacted in 2017, and there is no provision that allow retrospective, effect. And so the court said the charges were illegal, the charges were invalid, and on that ground, they were discharged and acquitted. Secondly, in the alternative, the court said our no case submission was sustained because we convinced the court that no case had been made against them to warrant their putting up a defense. And here I must commend the role of my colleagues, particularly Eddie Inegedu, who stood for the second defendant, as well as Maxwell Kion, who had represented 4 sets of shares. About 209 others had been charged before 4 different courts in Kaduna. Each of the judges dismissed the cases, discharged and acquitted the defendant because no case was made against them. And what was the main case? That a soldier who was killed by his colleagues due to what they call accidental discharge. The shares were alleged to have killed him, one corporal, then Kaduna. And the court dismissed the charges. Those who were alleged to have killed him directly were freed. Now, the state now said El-Zakzaky and his wife must have incited those who allegedly killed the soldier. And the court said there is no basis for the charge. You said Islamic movement in Nigeria is an illegal organization. So the El-Zakzakys are leading an illegal organization. And the court found that as of December 2015, when the alleged offenses took place, the IMN had not been proscribed by law. So when you look at the totality of the charges, you will appreciate gross inhumanity to man. In the case of the wife of El-Zakzaky, no witness made any reference to her. So she was Kaduna Correctional Center comply with the orders from the court as soon as the warrant of arrest was served on them 2 days ago. But this will interest you. A day before the ruling of the court, anticipating what might happen, the Kaduna state government, without any authority of the federal government, rose to the Federal High Court to file a new charge alleging terrorism against our client. Of course, and the charges were taken to the prison, the correctional center, with a view to serving our clients. They rejected the service and advised the bailiffs of court to serve the papers on us as their lawyers, or wait till the following day when the case will come up before the Kaduna State High Court. So, but regardless of such diversionary tactics on the part of the Kaduna State government, the correctional center comply with the judgment, hence our clients have regained their freedom.
Right.
They fled Kaduna. Yeah.
Okay, right. We need to quickly take a commercial break. When we return, we'll continue our conversation. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Before the break, we've been speaking with the lead counsel to El-Zakzaky and his wife, senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana. He has been reacting to the court judgment where his client was declared discharged and acquitted. Mr. Falana, I wonder if you are still here with us. One quick question. One of the members or lawyers of your client said that they will be approaching the court to seek damages against the Kaduna State government for the privation and travails he faced during his prolonged incarceration. Could you talk to us more on this?
Well, frankly speaking, we act on the instructions of clients. We haven't been briefed. We haven't been instructed to file a case alleging malicious prosecution on the part of the government. I think their main concern now is to attend to their health, which has been seriously impaired in the course of their almost 6 years of incarceration.
All right. Before we let you go, a lot of Nigerians would like to know this with regards to this case still. You talked about the fact that you filed a no case submission at the courts, and we're wondering if what led to you filing the no case submission, and if you were confident that the courts were going to uphold that submission.
As regards to the frivolity of the charges and the fact that the 15 witnesses summoned by the government did not adduce evidence on the basis of which our client could be asked to put up a defense. And have regards to the fact that the judges handling these cases have shown independence and commitment to the rule of law. They have shown fidelity to the rule of law. And our judges were prepared to ensure that justice was done at the end of the day, no matter whose axe was carried. You will recall that during the pendency of the action, our clients were allowed to travel abroad because of their very terrible state of affairs. The Honorable Justice Darius Kobo made the order, but the Kaduna State government countered the order. And when the action of the state government could not be justified, they were allowed to travel. But over there in India, the government frustrated the medical treatment, and so they were brought back. And what we then had to do was to ensure that the authorities of the correctional center in Kaduna allow our clients to receive the best medical treatment. And there was even a time we got medical personnel from abroad to also attend to them. And that is how they have been able to withstand the horrendous violations of their rights and the threat to their right to life. So it's been a very interesting development. So we were convinced beyond any shadow of doubt that justice will be done in their case. Of course, until a judgment is delivered, a lawyer cannot be so confident that you are winning a case. But with this time around, we're reasonably confident that justice will be done, and justice has been done in this case.
All right. And that will be a fine place to leave the conversation. Thank you so much, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, for speaking with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
Right.